psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
This is Ann Marie, and thank you for joining me and having our wonderful guest today. Her name is Betsy O. Thompson, and she is author of 6 spiritual books, which include her new one today, which we are discussing, Love Human, as well as The Mirror Theory and Walking Through Illusion are some of her others. Now, this is basically about how to find comfort in a world where uncomfortable things happen. You know, we've all been there. You know that every single one of us has gone through some kind of situation that has left us perhaps devastated and maybe not loving ourselves as much as we should. So today we're going to ask real questions about real life situations of Betsy, as well as discuss all of the things that she has covered in her book. So without any hesitation, hello, Betsy, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
There you are. Yes, thank you. And we are happy to have you here. So today, I thought maybe we'd start out by starting out what is exactly Love Human. What is that book about for you? What is the common denominator of this book? And also, I want to ask you, I believe that best teachers are people who have experienced some of the things that they are teaching on. Do you feel, Betsy, that in your life you have kind of gone through some of the things you've been discussing?
I don't think you can teach anything that you haven't experienced. I think you have to experience it because it's all about feelings, and you have to have felt something and what it was like in order to share it with other people, in order to help them get through something. I always think when I read a book that the author has always felt the emotions that she writes about, if she's a convincing writer. And if she hasn't experienced them, she can't really write about them with any authority. So this book is really about you and me and everyone. It's a book about who we really are in this human game, and the energy within us that is the energy everything that exists is energy. God is energy, so we all have the love of God within our hearts. And this book is really about that, and how to use that power we have to find comfort in a world where sometimes uncomfortable things happen.
Well, that puts it all in a nutshell, doesn't it? So, what is the first chapter about? Who am I?
Who am I and who are you? You are energy. You are beautiful energy. You control how you view the world, how you see the world. We can't always control everything that happens to us in life, but we can certainly control how we deal with it and how we feel about it, how we think about it. And so it's about understanding that we are the love of God, and we are here to find love. And I don't think if we're finding anything else in life, we aren't on purpose, because that's what it's all about for me anyway, and that's what the book's all about.
And where does my imagination come from, Betsy?
Well, the chapter on imagination is it's fun. It's about the many different phases that us as humans have gone through on this planet in order to survive as the human species. And I propose that we came here, or the book proposes, I feel like the information comes through me, but I propose that when we first came here, we came here as the complete love of God. We had no reason not to believe who we were. And so we manifested into form instantly. As soon as we knew the idea that we wanted to how we wanted to look, we manifested ourselves perfectly. And it's been, since then, it's been a long history of trying to remember who we are, and that all this chapter talks about all the phases that we have gone through in terms of mutations to adapt to our environment and all those fun things that were. I just had a wonderful time writing this chapter, because to me it makes sense, and ideas have to make sense to me for me to believe them.
So, on a question on that chapter, or at least from you in personal belief, why do bad things happen to good people if we pick who we want to be?
I don't think bad things ever happen. I think things happen that are important for the growth of the person who lives them. I think that uncomfortable things happen to us, but if we can find out, if we can learn from them and understand what we learn from experiencing them, they are no longer bad experiences, they become growth experiences. And so what I believe this book does for you is it takes you from the pain into the growth. It takes you from seeing the world as a dangerous place, as seeing it as a safe place, as long as you're only focused on giving love. It's all about the action reaction of the universe, and whatever you give to others, you are asking to receive. So if you are sending out anything other than love, if you're sending out cruelty or sending out disrespect, then you can expect to get that back, because the universe thinks everything is love. And so if you are expressing cruelty, the universe says, oh, say I'm expressing cruelty. Oh, Betsy thinks that cruelty is love. So let's give her a lot more of that back. So
I like that idea, because one of the concepts I've always believed is that the universe is like a huge scientific kitchen, and everything that we put out, like you say, is giving us the recipe of what the universe thinks we want back. So if we are the recluse that refuses to be out and about with other people, then surely the universe will give us loneliness. And if we are somebody that, as you said, sees the negative in everything, then surely the universe believes, as a neutral ingredient, that that is what we want. So it will give back to us. Kind of like that, Betsy?
Yes, exactly like that. The universe has no ears with which to hear our words. It only has its essence in order to feel our essence. And so it feels our essence and says, well, that's what that person loves, and that's what that person wants back. And so let's give her lots more of it. And so that's why we always get more of what we give more of what we've given than we expect to receive. When we give love and receive love, we're delighted to have it. When we give disrespect or cruelty, we're not so delighted when we get twice as much back.
Right. Well, what can physics teach me?
Well, physics is I believe the whole cosmos is run by action, reaction, and physics. It's all in perfect balance. In fact, if it didn't stay in balance, it couldn't exist, and nothing in the universe could exist either. So it's always in perfect balance, and that means that everything within the universe is also in perfect balance. And perfect balance, to me, is about the reality of our life or our emotional output. Everything in the illusion or the picture of what we see is temporary, so it can't be real. It's here today and gone tomorrow. What is real is the emotion that is within us, because that is what we take with us when we leave. And so if you are putting out something negative, then it's just the action reaction physics of the universe that you're going to get it back.
Got it. So let's say I am the recluse, or the person that has just lost a child, or the person that is going through bankruptcy. How can I find more comfort?
Well, I think that in terms of losing a child, I think there's always a period of mourning. I don't want to be insensitive to that. I know that's very difficult. I've had a child who went through a lot of physical problems, and there isn't anything you can do that except to trust that it's a part of your journey, trust that you've chosen to go through that, the child has chosen to go through that. And we don't know, even in the souls of our children, why they're here or how long they want to be here. And so it's really about trusting that their journey is complete if they leave early. And maybe their journey was just to be a gift to you for the time they were here. And
I
so,
believe that too.
yeah, we just need to trust that because we don't have the information that can really explain it. And we're not supposed to.
So how do I find more comfort?
By remembering that the child is where they need to be. That by wishing them well on their journey, wherever they feel their journey is important to be.
And for other situations, let's say the recluse or the person in bankruptcy, how would that affect them?
Well, it's all about learning from what you experience. I mean, I'm assuming that every time a person goes through bankruptcy, it's different for each individual. But I think that the same thing they have in common is they chose to experience it. And so there is something to learn from it, or they wouldn't have experienced it. Because it's really, it's about trusting that I believe before we get here, we set up the challenges that we believe we need to have. So it is about trusting that our soul is not a dummy, and our soul would not have us experiencing something if there wasn't something to learn from it. And when you do learn from what you've experienced, no matter how painful it is, it turns into something that you can see as hard-earned growth. And that's a positive attitude instead of thinking that the world's against you. Nothing ever goes right. That's just an attitude that attracts a lot of the same back. But if you take the attitude that this is here with me because my soul thought it was a worthy challenge and I can get through it, then you have the attitude where growth is possible.
Got it. So does life exist in outer space, do you think?
Well, I can't imagine that energy as a whole would have just one planet where they could grow. It just doesn't make any sense to me. If we have God within us and God can do anything it wants to do, go anywhere it wants to go, create whatever it wants to create, why would it create one little place called Earth to have fun in? I believe that there is life in many universes, and that they're all very different and delightfully individual and unique to their own special place in the cosmos, and that we choose to go to the planet where we can best learn our lessons or best learn what we came here to learn. And I believe that there's all kinds of options. Why would we live in a world like this that has millions and millions of choices and not have choices that were bigger than the ones that could be made here?
Makes sense. This next question I'm going to ask, I want you to follow about your own personal history and your own transitions. So the next question that I'm asking is another chapter. What happens in transition in your book?
I think transitions are breakthroughs of any kind. I think birth is a transition and a breakthrough into a new experience. I think death is a breakthrough into a new experience. And I think through your life, you have many times where you have breakthroughs. And I could talk about a lot of breakthroughs I had. learning to one of the biggest breakthroughs I had was the idea that we've already talked about, that the universe considers everything love. Another one was getting from, I spent the first half of my life blaming everyone else for my problems, and doing that brought me to a place where I was almost homeless. And I had been, from being a blamer, I had only attracted into my life a lot of people who were only too happy to blame me for all their problems.
Oh, yeah.
And so I really had gotten to a point where I said to myself, my life is not working. I need to change something. I need to find something. And what I did was I decided that I would re-acknowledge a gift that I had when I knew I was 4 years old, when I knew that I had this ability to communicate with spirit. But I had ignored it because I had told my sister what I was doing, and she went ballistic and teased me unmercifully. And so I was afraid that everybody would react the way she reacted, and so I abandoned the gift. And when I got to this point of almost being homeless, it was almost as if I felt like if I didn't acknowledge this gift, I was going to be out of here, because this was my reason, obviously, for coming. And so I did do this. I did acknowledge it. I started to do the work and write things down, and And I said prayer one night. I didn't think of it as a prayer, Ann Marie. I really thought of it just a conversation with myself. But I said, I want to use the gift. I want to write it down. I want to do this, but I need a job to support me while I do it. And 3 weeks later, I had the job in the entertainment business, working for the CEO of a new company, Castle Rock Entertainment. The second day they were in business, I was hired, and I worked for him for the next 18 years until I was able to retire. So it was it was if the universe said, okay, if you're ready, we're ready, and here we go. And everything in my life fell into place and turned around.
I would say that I have a similar a similar story. I've been a musician ever since I was 14 years old, and performed on stage until I was, about in my 40s. But most of all, I was a single mom. So a lot of that I spent working in plants, doing the hard stuff. And all that time, I remember saying to myself, there will come a day when I will own my own house and my own studio. And I remember saying that with complete belief that that would happen. And sure enough, about the time I drew a red circle around the date that I was going to leave plant life, the plant, that's when all of a sudden everything started falling in place. Sure enough, there were two houses, unbelievably cheap and very cute, and one is a hop, skip, and jump away from my other one, so I could turn one into my studio for private sessions, one into my home, and it all happened. But I believed that it could happen. So I'm totally with you on transition and the huge transitions that can happen, but we have to want that change. Otherwise, we will just sink into same stagnation, same old, same old. True?
Yes, you have to believe that. Yes, you have to believe it, and I do believe that's true. I can't. I mean, I certainly didn't know 3 weeks before I had the job that I was going to have it. But I can tell you that as soon as I said I would do what I came here to do, the universe just rushed in with all the support that I needed. So I don't know that you even have to say it. If you mentally feel it and mentally think it, the universe can still interpret that as, okay, you're ready.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, you also have something about rebirth in your chapter 7. So, will I rebirth into other lifetimes?
Well, I think you rebirth into more love wherever that love takes you. And so, I mean, it is, yes, we're always rebirthing into more love, but we don't always mentally know where that rebirth has meaning. So I think the soul can take care of that pretty well. The soul knows. For instance, I think the soul knows, would have said to me if I hadn't acknowledged my gift, would have said to itself, okay, well, Betsy's not ready to acknowledge it this lifetime, so we'll just get out of this lifetime and we'll come back and try again. And so there's no such thing as failing, because you you can't make it on the choices you made this time. You just come back and you try again until you do get it. And I mean, I don't remember how many times I've heard that so many times, that reassurance from spirit. If you don't understand it, fine. Maybe you'll get it tomorrow. And if you don't succeed today, you'll succeed tomorrow. There's no big deal about it.
Which is what I wish so many suicides understood, that just because you don't get it at this time, because you're feeling bad this day, doesn't mean that something could dramatically change in your life another day, and so
Yeah, I have
gosh,
experienced that too, Ann Marie. I had a friend come to me and tell me that his brother was talking about suicide and would I talk to him? And I said, sure, I'll talk to him. And so he came over with his brother, and his brother confirmed that he was talking about suicide. And I said, if you want to commit suicide, there probably isn't anybody who can stop you from doing it. But what I believe is that if you do commit suicide and you go over and you drop your body, you haven't you haven't solved the problem, because the problem is with your emotions, not with your body. So you still have your emotions with you after you commit suicide. So the problem is still there. But you thought coming here into human form would solve the problem. So why would you want to leave what you thought was the answer?
Because you may do it again.
Yeah, I mean, so he decided, after I told him that his problems were going to end from committing suicide, that he didn't do it. So, I mean, if he had going to deal with the same thing if you dropped the body, then what was the reason for dropping the body? So I think that if you understand that idea, it makes you a lot more willing to stay here and try to work it out. Because
what are my mirrors about?
I think our mirrors are that we face each other in all our lives. We're facing people who reflect back to us who we are in that moment. I think of it as a great gift in that we always have a daily update on the status of where our depth of feelings are, what we're putting out into the universe, by what we're receiving. And I think that it's always accurate, even though we may not always like to admit that it's accurate. But I always tell people, when you have a mirror you don't like, it isn't like you have to go out into the universe and scream, I have an ugly mirror. It's like you just have to go into a room by yourself and give yourself the gift of asking yourself, what have I done to create this mirror for myself? And the power behind that is that once you understand why you have the mirror you have the power to change it. But while you believe that it's all about what's out there with other people, what they're doing, and nothing to do with you, you feel like you're a victim and you don't have any power to do anything.
Please describe, or please explain to people what you mean by mirrors.
Okay, so I can give a personal experience. I got a phone call one day. I didn't know this person. I had never heard of this person. I had never met this person. I have no idea how they got my phone number. This was years ago. They called me and they had read one of my books, and they told me, I think you're on the wrong path. You should be, if you have this psychic gift, that you should be getting dates for things, dates for when this happened and dates for when that happened. And I was blown over. But this is the thing. I had to ask myself, where is the mirror for me in this? Why did I get this phone call from this person? Where did it come from? I created that situation, my energy. So what have I done to somebody else that is similar to this? So I immediately, as soon as I asked, where's the clue to this in me? The answer came to me. I had been telling a friend of mine who was in a bad time in her life, what she should be doing, where she should be going, how she should improve her life, when I basically had no idea how she should do it, because I don't know what her journey is. And so I realized immediately that I had attracted this energy to me of telling me how I should be sharing my gift, because I was telling somebody else how they should be doing their life. So I immediately called my friend and I said, I just want to tell you that I know, I trust your soul, and I know that your path is perfect the way it is, and I apologize. And then it was all fine, and I've never attracted that back again, thank goodness. but that's how the mirror comes up to tell us who we are in every given moment, and all we have to do is be willing to acknowledge it, and then go from and ask ourselves, how did I give that emotion to somebody else?
That is interesting. I think sometimes that, and please know, as an intuitive myself, I always tell people the one thing that we cannot confine in boundaries and restrictions is dates and time. Time is an elastic approximate.
Yes.
So how I'm puzzled how anyone could think that being a good intuitive is knowing time frames.
Well, I tell
We're
people,
not.
yeah,
We're
I
not
tell
we're
people
not
exactly
Wall
the same
Street
thing. Yeah.
we're not Wall Street brokers. We're just intuitives.
Yeah.
So my feeling is that that person clearly did not understand what an intuitive was and had it somehow pegged that we were Wall Street brokers. So too bad for that person. And
Yes.
but I can understand that you felt that you brought that on to yourself too.
Yes, I believe it because I was upset about it. I think that if we put out something and we get it back emotionally, if we get something back we haven't given out, it just bounces off our aura. It's like it's not part of our aura. Our aura has all the feelings that we're putting out into the universe. So if I have not put out, for instance, patronization towards somebody else, and I get patronized, it doesn't really affect me. I notice it, but I don't care. It's the emotions that we give that we care about when we receive, and that affect us. And so when I was affected by this phone call, it really had very little to do about her. It had to do with what I had to look into in myself.
I see. I see. Yes. Well, that's a very great way to look at things that we don't like that other people do. That is a very good way. Yeah, oftentimes the person that is most critical is the person that can least take it, or the person that is most judgmental is often the one that feels constantly under pressure that they're being judged.
Yeah.
So I can totally understand that.
Yeah.
And speaking of judgments, are judgments helpful?
Well, I think that each person has to judge that individually for themselves. But I would put out to you that why would the universe judge beliefs as good, bad, wrong, or right if each is needed in the person who has it? It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think the universe has any kind of judgment at all. It trusts that we're living what we need to live. And so I think if you want to be in sync with what's going on with the universe, you need to do the same thing. You need to trust that people are living what they need to live. And I mean everybody in that. I include everyone in that. People who are going through something completely different than I'm going through are with other people who are going through that. People who are going through what I'm going through are with me. And so we're always in our own, even though we live in a big world, we're always in the world that relates to our personal growth. And so the best thing that you can do for your own growth is to let go of others who are living something differently and just trust that it's what they need to go through. And I really believe that that's the only way to have peace of mind and to find comfort in a world where uncomfortable things happen, is to allow people to, with your blessing, to live what they need to live without your judgment.
So when I think of judgment, Betsy, I can think back. Like I said, I wanted to make sure this show covers real situations as well as philosophy. And so when I think of judgment, I think of when I used to work in a 9 to 5 job. Actually, it was a 6 to 3:30 job. And I remember how people would become bored. And the first thing that everybody would do is take sides and judge the other person. So it is very difficult when you're working in that kind of situation to allow judgments to not phase you. Have you ever been in a situation like that?
I've been in a situation where when I was judging somebody, even though I wasn't speaking it, I was only feeling it. They reacted to my feeling of it. It was somebody that I was working with, and I went home every night and I would say to myself, I can't believe that person has that job. I can't believe whoever gave her that job. I mean, she doesn't know how to do it. She doesn't know how to organize her time. So I'd go home and I'd fester about this woman who shouldn't have the job. And of course, when I would go to work, I never said anything to her, but she felt my feelings, and so she reacted to it, and the relationship was very uncomfortable. So I came home one night and I said, how can I change this relationship? What can I do to change this relationship? And I was inspired to take a piece of paper and write down on the piece of paper all the good qualities about this woman that I could think of. And when I gave myself this challenge, I did think of good things. And so I repeated them to myself over and over again. And when I went into work, I said them over and over to myself. And after about a week, the relationship was completely different. And I can only explain this by saying that you don't have to speak words for people to understand how you feel. They sense everything. And so as soon as she started sensing my approval or my praise of how she could do things and how good she was at this or that, she responded. And so I believe that this is true of everyone we know and everyone we deal with. You don't have to speak words for them to know how you feel.
No. Like you said, the aura says it all, as well as our eyes. And I
Yes.
think when we accept something, the warmth and the love shines in our eyes. It's not critical eyes. But oftentimes it's the other way around for people with weight problems or people who have health problems or people who are disfigured or have gone through persecution of something they have done. The judgment of by others on them can be a critically devastating situation. And I think that in the same way that you went home and said the things that were perfect about another is the best thing that those that feel persecuted can do about themselves as well, correct?
Absolutely. It's always about it always is. I think every challenge we have is about finding the self-worth within ourselves, the trust in ourselves, the belief in ourselves. And so the person who takes on a big challenge like a physical handicap or something like that, they must be very brave souls, that they believe that they can deal with it and come through it in a positive way. And so I always say they're to be admired for taking on a challenge like that, because there must be extremely brave to know that they to even believe that they could deal with it and deal with it well. I have a son who is handicapped in several ways, and I've always told myself that what a brave soul he was to come here with all the challenges he had. I had German measles when I was pregnant with him, and he was born with a couple of heart defects and blind in one eye and deaf in one ear, and he's had a time of it. And I have to. The only way I can really find the comfort around the idea is to trust that his soul is very wise in what he's chosen, because he told me one time himself that he said, I think that I must have been very arrogant in a past life because all I've had to deal with since I'm here is humility.
Wow. That is an old soul for sure, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Amazing wisdom.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, so speaking on souls, is my soul always with me?
Yes, in fact, I think it's the only part that is always with you. I think
Okay.
it's always with us, no matter where we are, what we're doing, where we're living. In body, out of body, the soul is always there. And I think that the soul in all of us is trying to speak to us and always trying to help us. And it's really about us listening to the soul. It's there. We wouldn't be here without it. It's the energy that comes out of us or that keeps us alive. It's right in there, keeping us and making us stay here for as long as we want to be here. And it's always got us where we need to be. It's always got us facing the people we need to face. It's always got us doing what we need to do, learning what we need to learn. So yes, it's always there for eternity.
And does my reality change when I leave here? Or how about does my reality change when I'm here?
I mean, your reality, first of all, I have to define what I believe reality is. And I believe that's emotions. Our reality is our emotions, and our realities certainly emotionally change from time to time. But then we always get our mirror back of whatever our reality is. So whatever it is in any given moment, the universe is sending us our mirror, so we know so we can have a clear idea of where we are and how we're doing. So sometimes. I get down, and when I get down, I know the solution. I don't always think of it right away, but I know the solution is to start thinking of all the things I have to be grateful for. And so I think that's a good solution to a lot of downers that we go through, is to remember, remember all the good things, and to make ourselves conscious of all the good things and the blessings that we do have in our life. Because nobody comes here to get everything there is to have. Come here to get everything that our soul believes is important for us to have.
I believe that. And I also believe that it can be dangerous when we do not allow our reality to change and latch on to the past and demand that the entire life we live meets our standards of an old life we used to live. Don't you believe that too?
Well, I mean, if we weren't here to move and to grow, what's the use of being here? I mean, if you're going to stay in one little tiny slot your whole life. Well, I mean, I can only do it by my example. I
Yeah,
truly believe that if I hadn't woken up, so to speak, I would not be here. I would be out of body, learning how to come back and try again. So sometimes when I face challenges, and being on Skype is one of my challenges.
you,
And
you
when you
did very
invited,
well, by
yeah,
the
when you
way.
invited me on the show, I said, I'm not even going to think about this. I'm going to say yes before I have time to think about it. And so I told myself I'll
Good.
deal with it after I've said yes.
Oh, I thought you look great, and you're doing great, and I'm glad you did. And that just proves sometimes we just have to go for it.
Yes.
When our reality is begging us to change what's going on, I think it's so important that we allow that change to happen, just like you did with Skype, or you know. I think there's a lot of people like my husband who refuses to use computers and who refuses to do anything tech, because I think it's easy to condemn it when really it's a fear of it.
Yes, it's a fear. It's walking into a fear. I'm walking into all kinds of fears these days. I'm going out into expos, taking my books with me. And one of the expos that I'm going to is a rather big one. And the woman said, well, since you are an author of 6 books, would you like to speak? And before I had a chance to panic, I said, yes. I said, yes, I'd
Oh,
like to
good for
speak. And so,
you.
it's like I'm telling myself, just say yes and then deal with it afterwards. So I'm just walking into the fears. And I know that it's important to walk into fears, but it's always been a hard thing for me to do. But I'm just doing it and not giving myself a chance to argue with myself.
It's a wonderful lesson for all of us. What a good lesson. Yes, just say yes. All right. So then the next question is fear rational then?
I think there's 2 kinds of fear. There's healthy fear and unhealthy fear. Healthy fear is the fear that keeps you safe in your environment, keeps you from falling down the steps, keeps you driving safely. That's a healthy fear. Unhealthy fear is a voice inside of our head that says you're no good, you never do anything right, don't try, you'll fail anyway. That's unhealthy fear. The fear inside of us that keeps us from trying something new or saying yes. And I've had a lot.
Right.
We all deal with this fear because we wouldn't be here if we weren't dealing with it. It's nothing that just one person has or just a group of people have. We all have it, and so we're all here to try to walk through it.
Yes. And the power of fear to cripple our lives
Yeah.
is is so devastating to growth. I mean, it's the fear of um, improving ourselves, for fear that also I think it becomes an excuse to say, well, if I do achieve that goal, then I will be expected to keep it up. Or if I do accomplish that goal, I will be forced to take on the next change and the next change. And people will expect it, like people who want to quit smoking, or people that want to lose weight, or people that want to, any little fear. And I think that what you're saying is very wise. Just say yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is it,
We all have the voice of fear and the voice of love inside of us. We just have to have the discipline and the determination to listen to the voice of love instead. We have the option. We have the choice.
is it okay to believe in magic? And I have to stop here. I have a Jehovah's Witness sister.
Okay.
And magic, I know is different to different people, but I live in a tiny little Bible belt where I see myself as an intuitive life coach, whereas the next person may see me as somebody that is a witch. And and the next person may see me with complete confusion and not know what I am, and so avoid me. But I think that there are so many, to me, just the belief in any religion and any higher power is a belief in magic. And yet, just like the judgment we talked about, it's okay for some to believe in a higher power, but it's not okay to believe in anything that may seem like a different kind of magic. But just being in this earth at this time is magic. So now go ahead. What do you think?
Well, I just want to say that magic is, to me, we're like a puppet that comes in here, and all this, and we can just walk around on this earth like life has been given to a puppet, and we can talk and speak and go and do whatever we want to on this autonomous basis, completely free as human beings. That's pretty magic to me. I mean, if we were looking at a show, a puppet show, and suddenly the puppets came to life, that would be pretty magical. And that's who we are, these puppets who have come to life. I mean, the baby's born, and then the breath goes into it, and it's all of a sudden alive. I mean, what could be more magical than that? So,
Magical. Yeah.
truly magical.
Yes. Well, why do dreams exist?
Well, I think the dreams exist for many different reasons, because I know that my son interprets them in a different way. And the way I deal with dreams is that my nighttime dreams inform me of my daytime behavior. And so that if I am, what they are for me is the subconscious dealing with, in my dreams, what I refuse to deal with in my conscious awareness. And so when I dream something, I remember a dream. If I don't remember a dream, Spirit has told me, if you don't remember a dream, it's just not that important, because you'll remember the dreams that are important for your growth. So when I have a dream that I remember vividly, I always sit down when I wake up and I ask myself what this dream is all about, because it always has something to tell me that I'm refusing to deal with during the day. And so that's how I interpret my dreams. Now, my son had a dream one time. He was looking for a new apartment, and he went to look at the apartment and decided that it might be pretty good to live there. And then he went home that night, and he had a dream, and he dreamt of that exact bathroom in that apartment, and there was blood all over the place.
Oh my gosh.
And so for him, that was a premonition telling him, this is what happens to you if you take that apartment.
Or what has happened in that apartment that he was feeling because he has your gift.
Well, so that he did not take that apartment. So I can't say that dreams are just have only one reason. I can only say that this is the reason that I use, or this is the explanation I have in my book that I understand for the interpretation of dreams. But I think that it can easily be an individual thing. And if you're benefiting in some way from your dreams, it can't possibly be wrong. You know, if you have a way of from your dreams, if it's bringing you more understanding, more love, and however you interpret them, then it's a good thing for you.
Yes. And I do believe in angelic guidance. So I believe that our angels change their posts many times through the many episodes of our life. And I think that many times, if we'll just listen, those dreams can be our angelic guidance, as I believe your son was being taken care of.
Yeah.
Is perfect health possible?
I think that I think it is, yes, but I think it's because of the mind. I think the mind controls the body. I think the body is reflective energy, just like everything else in this world of matter. It's reflective energy. So whatever dis-ease is going in our minds is reflected in the body. And I can give you a personal story if you would like me to do it about this.
I love them.
When I came home from California, I had been here for about 3 months, and I noticed one morning that I had a lump in my back. And I called the doctor immediately because I have a lot of cancer in my family. And I went in that afternoon. She had me come in. She examined me, and she found the lump. And she said, I want you to go in for an MRI tomorrow morning. And I said, okay. So I came home that night. First thing I did was I looked in Louise Hay's book for the meaning of lumps, and it's grudges and resentments. And immediately I knew why I had this lump, because since I had come home from California, I was all involved with the family issues again. And I had been going over and over and over in my mind all the resentments and the angers that I had about my family's reaction to me when I took off and left for California. And it was festering and festering in me. And so I said, okay, well, now that I know the reason for it, I have to figure out how I'm going to find, the benefit here. What was good about what happened to me? And so I went into this deep meditation. And in the meditation, I realized that the very fact that my family had reacted the way they had to me at the time of a crisis in my life is what pushed me to go to California. And going to California was like the turnaround in my life. And so I could tell myself, I could see how they were the motivators for me that got me where I needed to go. And when I got to that place inside of me, I could feel gratitude instead of resentment. And when I realized that, and I'm getting the same feeling again, I get these goosebumps all over me when I talk about this, because this stream of creamy light came all the way up through my body when I had this realization that they were the motivators, the angels in my life that had pushed me to do what I needed to do. I could feel gratitude. So I went to bed that night and slept like a baby. And I went up the next morning and I had the MRI. And the doctor called me in the afternoon and she said, well, it didn't show up on the MRI, but I want you to go in for more tests. And I said, well, before I do that, I have to tell you what happened, because I swore when I came from home from California, I was never again would have a doctor that I couldn't be honest with and tell exactly what was going on. So I went in and she examined me after I told her what happened, and the lump was gone. And the way I explain this is that my body said, "Oh, she gets it. She gets it. So there's no reason for the lump anymore." And so then the lump disappeared. And I really believe that our body at 24/7 is always reflecting back to us what we need to know about what's going on up here. And that was about the most good lesson I've ever had.
I have a friend who lost her husband to cancer. And much of her last years, she was in a state of dormancy as she felt his depression and went through all of his depression, and was with him as he kind of gave up. And afterwards, sure enough, because she loved him so much, she came down with the same cancer. And now she is at the point where she asks herself daily, why did this happen to me when I lost someone so precious and was finally ready to be able to live health? And now, and when I did a reading on her energy, it said that she had so needed to be the fixer, so needed to be the person that was feeling his pain for him, that when he was gone, she basically absorbed it all. And it was as if she was living almost in half guilt and in half duty, keeping him alive through the very cancer she was manifesting.
Wow.
And there's so many reasons for, as you said, for that stuff. And knowing that, can a person live in healing miracles?
Absolutely. I mean, the miracles heals love. Love's a miracle. That's what transforms everything. For instance, my love, my back, being able to send love to people who I was seeing and having hold grudges against, that's a miracle, because it's from one place to another place. And I think that miracles are always show up when love takes over. I had a wonderful healing with my sister that was a miracle, because I had been doing the Course of Miracles, and it was all about letting go of other people being responsible for your pain. And I came back and I was being held. She couldn't imagine, who is this? Telling me that she loves me, because our relationship had been so difficult before that. But it's changed to this miraculous relationship where we're very happy to know each other now. And it's all because you turn the old feelings and the old resentments into a new feeling, and you decide you're going to find the good in the person. You're going to stop worrying about what happened 40 years ago and find the good person yourself.
Right. Do prayers have power?
I believe that there's a misunderstanding about answered prayers. I believe that if you pray for other people to change their ways or to become better people or change their loyalties, I don't think that a prayer like that is effective, because I think the universe knows that change begins within. And so, therefore, it's not up to you to ask for people to change. The universe believes they're fine the way they are. But if you pray for God to help you become more kind and loving and considerate and inclusive, then God rushes in with all the opportunities that allow you to do that. And so it's really you have to ask yourself: Are you praying about something because you're afraid you're not going to get what you need, or are you praying because you want to help someone else get what they need?
Oh, that's very powerful stuff. Can romance really last?
You find romance again. I think you have to ask yourself, what do you feel in your heart when you felt romantic as compared to what you feel now? Where did that feeling go? If you had it once, you can find it again. So it's about finding the romance in each day, and being diligent about it. It's if something is important to you, you'll find it. You just have to be the one to do it. You can't expect other people to give it to you. Romance is a feeling you have inside yourself, to you.
Wonderful. Yes, I believe that too. And I also believe that we have to be able to romance ourselves in order to be able to find romance. And so if you are down on yourself and you believe that you are not worthy of being romanced or loved, then you will not. But I think that it starts with accepting it, that we can be to thine own selves be true first,
Yes.
and romance ourselves.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, when somebody comes to me and they want to find their soulmate, I say, okay. So you take a piece of paper and a pencil and you write down all the qualities you want your soulmate to have. I don't care how many there are. Is it 50? There be 20. There be 5. Just write down all the qualities you want the soulmate to have, and they do it. Very very easily. They write down all the qualities, and I said, now I want you to take that list and don't lose it, no matter what you do. And each day you're going to give that quality to somebody else, because that's how you find your soulmate. But if you want that person and you're not giving those qualities to other people, the person you want is off finding somebody else, not you. So you have to be the person you act back.
Very cool. Well, we are about running out of time. We have 5 minutes left. We have 2 more questions. Why do I have the family I have?
Okay. What I believe before we get not up for others planning our journey, and I ask myself, well, this is what I need, and this is the challenge I have, and this is what I need to learn this lifetime. And somebody else, probably somebody who loves me very much, says, oh, I can provide that person for you because I need such and such and such. And this is how all our journeys are planned. And so we come here with a family that we believe is going to be perfect for the growth that we need to live in one way or another. And it's always about finding how you have grown from what has happened. And I'm not saying that I had an easy time with some of the people in my family, but I am saying that when I'm able to say, what have I learned because of that, then it's been a blessing. I mean, I could turn it into a blessing because of what I feel I have learned, because I knew the people and because of the way they were. In fact, the very fact that I had such a hard time with my mother when I was growing up, because she had a different philosophy of life. She saw things differently than I did. She had a different philosophy, different priorities. Never agree with her. We were so different in those priorities. Was the very fact that forced me to philosophy that did work for me. So in a way, she was the catalyst again for me to philosophy that I feel comfortable with.
So I would like to ask, where can people purchase your book and your website?
My website is betsythompson.com, BetsyThompson.com, and all my books are there and they can be ordered from there.
And do you give readings?
I do give readings. I do. When I go to the expos, I give the readings. And my next expo is going to be in New Jersey, and then I'm going to Allentown in September too, and Hot Sounds. So if anybody listening, they look up the psychic fairs in the area and come see.
Sounds great. Betsy, I want to thank you very, very much for being with us today. And I wish you love and success in your journey ahead.
Thank you, Ann Marie. I wish you the very same. Thank you for having me on.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.